Welcome back for another top-notch video. This week, guys, we'll talk about the weekly stock review 14 June through 18 June. As always, the top-notch channel is about the TSP or the Thrift Savings Plan. We talk about stocks, ETFs, Roth IRA, brokerage accounts, any of that stuff. If you guys are interested or want to know more, please like, subscribe, or share. As always on our channel, we talk about the C Fund, which is the S&P 500, the S Fund, which is small caps, the I Fund, which is international markets, and the F Fund, which is bonds. As always with our accounts, we also talk about the ETFs IVV, VXF, EFA, and AGG. These funds typically match each other or mirror each other for funds. Again, if you guys want to follow along, we kind of do a very broad overview, and then we get into a more specific general technical analysis. If that interests you, please like, subscribe, or share. Let's get right into the video. As always, we start off with TSPTalk.com. Great website. Definitely recommend you guys check this website out. Make sure you look at everything on the website. As you can see here for the week, for our funds, here's the funds here on the top. Funds had a really rough week, guys. The only thing that was up was AGG or the F Fund. Everything else was down by quite a lot. As you can see here, just for this week, we had a negative 2.5% decline in the S and almost for the I, and then a 1.8% for the C. So that was a really rough week for stocks. If we look at our analysis, what are we seeing? Tommy does some commentary here for TSP Talk. I definitely recommend you check that out. As you can see, we broke our trend line here for S&P 500 or the C Fund. So we broke that this week here. It was almost a 2-week trend line. Going back to this 50-day moving average, we do have an open gap down here. We have not hit that yet. If we were to break this 50-day moving average, I could definitely see this moving downward. Please keep that in mind if you are investing in this fund in the future. For the S Fund, what do we see? We saw a triple top. Triple tops are usually a positive thing for stocks. As you can see here, that did not tend to be the case. We hit our triple top here, broke our trend line, and then moved back to our moving averages. Want to see if we can find some resistance here on these trend lines and see if it will bounce off that or if it will continue downward. Most likely, we're hoping to see that bounce, but we'll have to wait and see where things go from there. Let's continue on for EFA. What are we seeing with EFA? EFA also had a large jump down to that 50-day moving average. Finally hit that. Been a while since we've been down in this area. We left a large open gap here. We're hoping to see that filled in the future. We don't want to see it break these trend lines. So if we saw a weak market this week, that would be a very bad sign for all of our indices or our funds. And last of all, we are looking at bonds or AGG, the F Fund. With the F Fund or bonds, as you can see, guys, had a big open gap here right above the 200-day moving average back in February. We are about to fill that gap over here. That is a really positive sign. Definitely could see it moving towards that. 200-day moving average is now below price, which is these black bars here. Good trend line here. Good movement on this fund. This looks like a decent fund, but we'll check it out on the technical analysis. Let's go ahead and move to that portion of the video. So the first chart we have here is we're going to look at the IVV. So IVV is the C Fund, and with the C Fund, as you can see, a lot of the other charts here, we're on the bottom of our trend line yet. We have not crossed that, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. This trend line's been holding all the way since early November of last year. So a large trend line, we hit it once, hit it twice, hit it just about 3 times. Now we're hitting it again. Hope to see that go up from there. If we had a really bad week, we could see things start to change very quickly. We want to jump in there and make sure we mitigate all risks with IVV or the C Fund. Let's look at it from a technical analysis. If you're new to the channel, we look at a few indicators for technical analysis. We look at the derivative oscillator, which is these red and green bars. Typically when green is going down into red, price, which is up here, tends to go down. So green to red, price goes down. When red goes into green, price tends to go up. So that's our first indicator we like to look at. The second indicator we like to look at is the price percentage oscillator. That is this blue line here and the red line. So when the blue line is above red line, that is usually a positive for price, which is up here. And when blue crosses red, that's usually negative for price. Okay, so we want to see the blue above red and we want to be in the green on these green bars. So let's look at our technical analysis for short and long-term charts. IVV or the C Fund, as you can see, our bars are going down into red. That is a negative sign there. And our PPO line, which is the price percentage oscillator, is below the red line here. That's 2 negative signs. Not a good fund to be in. That is a red light chart. You do not want to be in that fund right now. Going into the long-term charts for IVV right now, a lot of indecision. As you can see, there's a top here. That's a line on the bottom and the top of price. So a lot of indecision in the market of what people are trying to decide what to do this last week based off the volatility. Let's look at short-term chart now for IVV. Also not good things. Look at this, guys. PPO line way down here, way below our red line. Our oscillator, derivative oscillator, also very negative. We went from negative 6.8 on that Friday to negative 9.1. Huge moves here. Big moves in the last 2 days for this market. We'll have to wait and see where things go from here. Again, we really want to see it hold these trend lines. Like I mentioned here, if we cannot hold these trend lines, the next point of resistance we have is the 200-day moving average, which is way down here, guys. That would be a massive correction. That's not something we want to see. We need to be watching charts very closely this next week. All right, let's go ahead and move into our next chart, which is going to be VXF, or small caps. That is going to be the S fund. What are we seeing with small caps? Multiple tops here. 1, 2, almost 3 here. This would have been almost a 4th top here. So that is not necessarily a good thing. We thought that would break out. It did not. We are still above our trend line here, so we're holding. We feel good about this chart, but we have a lot of resistance here. So unlike the C fund, which there is no resistance down here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of resistance down here. So 3 lines of resistance before we hit that 200-day moving average. So we feel a lot more comfortable with this chart just because there's so much more resistance below it. Usually when there's resistance below it, charts tend to bounce off of that. As you can see here, as you can see here, as you can see here, as you can see here. So a lot of bouncing going on. We're hoping for a bounce here, here, or possibly here. Don't know where we could see that just yet. Let's look at it from a technical analysis. We use the exact same indicators on VXF or the S fund. So what are we seeing on this chart? Much better looking chart, guys. As you can see, the derivative oscillator, okay, which is right here. It went from a negative 1.0 to a negative 9 or 0.9. So that is a much better chart looking there. Price is still going up here. Very good increase. The only thing we don't like on this chart is the PPO line, which is below our red line there. That is a red. So when we have a red and a green chart, that makes it yellow. So that is a proceed with caution. So on VXF, we want to proceed with caution this week. If you're in this fund, just be making sure you're watching it very closely. On the short-term chart, or if you were trying to get into this fund this week, probably not the best fund to get into. As you can see, derivative oscillator is way down here. Price percentage oscillator way down here. Not a good week to get into these charts for a short-term basis. Long-term basis, very good. Well, cautionary. And short-term basis is just not a very good position right now to get into these charts. So let's move on to the next fund, which is going to be EFA. This is international markets. What are we seeing with that? Huge drop in international markets, guys. Like I mentioned on our charts earlier, big open gap here. Broke through a lot of resistance. Broke through our trend line here. Now, we're really hoping to see that bounce back, but if that doesn't, we only have one more line of resistance here before that could go all the way down to our 200-day moving average. We need to be watching this one very closely for this next week as we move forward. Let's look at it for charts, long-term charts, same indicators. What are we seeing on the long-term charts? Very negative sign here, guys. Last week, we kind of jumped down a little bit. This week, we went into the negative with our oscillator, our derivative oscillator. PPO line is now below that red line. That is a red chart. Not a good position to get in for EFA. Price is reacting very negatively to that. Do not want to get involved. On short-term basis charts, what are we seeing? Ooh, another really negative sign here, guys. Saw a fake out here. Usually fake out means a big move in price one way or another, and we saw that. With price, we saw a big move down. We were outside the Bollinger Bands even on this upper chart with price. And our two indicators we look at is the derivative oscillator, which is in the negative in the red, not good. Price percentage oscillator, blue line way below the red line. Not good. Not a good position to enter for international markets or the I fund right now. Moving on to AGG or bonds. This seemed like the only place that was safe this week. This is our only positive chart, and it's making a slow comeback, guys. We've been making a comeback ever since April, May, and now June. Good things here. We are above our moving averages still, seeing a little resistance in here. We'll have to wait and see if charts can hit that. It made just very minor progress. As you can see, for the week, we were up 0.12%. So very, very minor progress, but it was better than the negative charts. And let's look at it from technical analysis. So with AGG, long-term charts, what are we seeing weekly? What are we seeing? Very good things here. This is a good chart. AGG continues to rise, so that is positive on the derivative oscillator. Last week it was at 4.16. Now we're at 2. So that's a good sign there. The PPO line is above, so that is also a positive sign. Good chart overall compared to the rest of our charts. That is a very good green light chart for this week. And as far as short-term charts go, what are we seeing? Also positive signs on the rise. Derivative oscillator is moving out. We went from negative 5.9, negative 4.7, negative 2.9. That is good in the right direction. Our PPO line's about to cross. Good chart to be in on the short-term, long-term basis. I would definitely recommend this is a good place to have money for the short-term basis. For right now, we'll wait and see where things go in the future. Guys, that is all of our charts for this week. As always on the Top Notch channel, we show you guys where we are at. So on our Top Notch channel, the last week we were in the S&I fund. We took a big hit there. We're hoping charts bounce back. We don't want to see it move up past that resistance line. So the resistance line for here and the resistance line for here. If we have 1 or 2 more down days, guys, we are going to go ahead and bail ship. We're going to move the funds into a safer fund there. We'll probably move it to AGG or the F fund. Please be watching our Facebook and Twitter pages for that move. We'll definitely let you guys know. It'll be a Monday or Tuesday move for sure. We're going to keep it here for right now. And always, that is a top-notch video. Really appreciate you guys watching. And please like, subscribe, or share. We'll see you guys next time.